After you've worn it all day, it's warm, damp, and dark, isn't it? Add in rain and snow, and you've got the perfect breeding ground for toe fungus. Beat winter toe fungus with Fungi Cure Intensive Spray, the only crystal clear, odorless spray that kills fungus and helps remove wetness on and between toes. There's nothing stronger without a prescription. Stop toe fungus in its tracks. Pick up Fungi Cure at a store near you and leave toe fungus out in the cold. Use only as directed.
Hey, Gary.
Hey, Robert.
You been up there all night?
Yeah, just keeping watch.
You need SimpliSafe's new wireless outdoor security camera. It works with SimpliSafe's already award-winning home security for even more comprehensive protection.
What? Hey, Shirley! What? You're not gonna believe this.
The new wireless outdoor security camera is here, only from SimpliSafe.
A heart attack? Do they have life insurance?
No.
But we have life insurance. John.
I'm trying to find something we can afford.
Fortunately, in only a few minutes, SelectQuote found John a $500,000 policy for only $29 a month. And his wife Anne a $500,000 policy for only $21 a month. Go to SelectQuote.com now and get the insurance your family needs
at a price you can afford. SelectQuote. We shop, you save.
This is Steve. He used to have gum problems. Now he uses TheraBreath Healthy Gums Oral Rinse with clinically proven ingredients, and his gum problems have vanished. TheraBreath. It's a better mouthwash at Walmart, Target, and other fine stores.
At Lovesac, we design furniture for life, real life, messy life. Now, Lovesac Sactionals can be upgraded with Stealth Tech and immersive surround sound by Harman Kardon, upgradable, washable, and guaranteed for life at a Lovesac showroom near you.
Kyle Rittenhouse sits down with Tucker Carlson.
If I was convicted, no one would ever be privileged to defend their life against attackers.
In the conversation America will be watching. Don't miss the Kyle Rittenhouse interview tonight.
The Biden presidency is off to a rocky start. I know you feel it at home. For the last 11 months, we've seen his administration screw up crisis after crisis, from Afghanistan to open borders to surging inflation. Joe Biden is failing the American people. His approval rating couldn't be any lower, but Joe thinks he deserves a second term, telling his allies that he plans on running again in 2024. He's already the oldest president ever, and he'll be the nearly 82 by the next election. And that's troubling to many. According to a new Fox News poll, 53% of Americans think Biden's age is interfering with the job. So Democrats, what's worse, a million-year-old president or Kamala Harris? Your choice. Joining me now to react, Charlie Hurt, Fox News contributor. Charlie, you know, when you look at the president's performance, he's not doing a good job. He doesn't seem like he's fit or has the stamina for the job. He's not remembering certain things. I'm no doctor. I just know the old Joe, and he ain't the old Joe. So tell me, should the American people give him another shot at this?
Well, I think the answer to that is pretty obvious, and the fact that so many Democrats are actually sort of having to talk about the defending the idea that the incumbent would even serve out the rest of his first term is pretty amazing and is pretty indicative of where we are. But to be sure, Democrats are in a very, very tough spot because, as you point out, as bad as Joe Biden is, and by the way, his poll numbers could still go lower. Watching this performance that we've seen so far, they could go lower. But the option, the alternative to him is so much worse in Kamala Harris. Yeah. And it's really interesting, Lawrence. I cannot remember any time in the past 20 years a public figure like this, especially a president, who has managed to burn through so much goodwill as Joe Biden has. A year ago, I would have told you that people might not particularly love him. They might not find him inspiring, but they wouldn't dislike him. He was kind of a hard guy to dislike. Man, he has tested that to the hilt. And we're seeing that in the poll numbers.
Well, he lied to the American people during the campaign trail while he hid in his basement. Yes. He promised to be a uniter. He promised this return to normalcy. Meanwhile, we have open borders. We have inflation. Right. People can't get what they want from the store. He botched the Afghanistan withdrawal. I mean, it's just basic things that you would think someone that's been in politics over 50 years would be able to handle. Exactly. But he doesn't seem like he's suited for the job, Charlie.
No, exactly, Lawrence. I mean, you would think that for a guy that's been doing this his entire adult life, he might have gotten good at it at some point. The dirty secret is most of us who have been around Washington for a long time have known for a long time that he's not very good at it. He's kind of a bumbling idiot, and he kind of was when he was in the Senate, and you wouldn't have really put him in charge of anything. But I think that when you list through those issues, I think that the Democrats are sort of obsessed with personality right now, and they want to talk about personality. But Joe Biden's problem is not his personality, although he has managed to burn through a lot of goodwill. His problem are the policies. And I defy you. You listed a number of the issues where he has completely blown himself up. I defy you to find me one single issue that matters to the American voters that Joe Biden has succeeded on.
Well, there's not one.
I don't think you could find a single one. No. And even if you were to pick something like, oh, well, getting along with foreign neighbors or something like that, that nobody cares about. Nobody wins elections on that stuff. But it's something Joe Biden claims to be very good at. He screwed that up, as you point out, in Afghanistan. He screwed up our relationship with France. He's made lots of mistakes on the world stage that have done nothing to help America. And of course, back home, everyone knows that this sort of America last approach, because he so badly wants to undo everything that, every success President Trump had, really doesn't, not only does it not sell here, but we're finding out it doesn't sell over there either.
Well, Kamala was the backup plan. Meanwhile, the progressives rejected her in the primary, and this was supposed to be the golden child, Charlie.
That's right. No, and it's kind of interesting how, she was much beloved, especially in Washington, in the corridors of Washington. Everybody was speculating that she was going to be the next rock star of the Democrat Party. Well, not only did that not work out with regular voters, as you point out, even among Democrat primary voters, she was flatly rejected. And it's just another example of where, you have these brilliant, genius central planners in Washington who think they know everything. They don't know anything.
I got to run, Charlie. Thanks so much for joining me tonight. Thanks so much for watching Fox News Primetime. Sean Duffy will be hosting tomorrow. Tucker has a big interview. That's next.
Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. In retrospect, it's remarkable just how dishonest, how thoroughly and intentionally dishonest the media coverage of the Kyle Rittenhouse story turned out to be. All of it was a lie. Rittenhouse was not a white supremacist. He was never in a militia. He never crossed state lines with a firearm. The protest in Kenosha was not peaceful. It was a riot, chaotic and violent. Many of the rioters, by the way, carried guns. Rittenhouse was hardly alone. Rittenhouse didn't go to Kenosha looking for trouble. His father lived there. Rittenhouse himself worked as a lifeguard in Kenosha. On August 25th of last summer, Rittenhouse went downtown to stand guard over a car lot. Here's the context. The night before, police in Kenosha had done nothing as the mob burned businesses, including another car lot, all the way to the ground. So the business owner needed Kyle Rittenhouse's help. He was looking to a 17-year-old for help, if that gives you some perspective on how bad things were, and he asked for it. As Rittenhouse stood there, rioters threatened his life. Then they attempted to kill him. In the end, Rittenhouse shot 3 attackers as he tried to run to the safety of the police. A number of media outlets claimed the men Rittenhouse shot were black. In fact, all 3 were white, and all 3 had serious criminal records. We could go on. Again, the media coverage was, from beginning to end, a tapestry of lies. If you watched the trial last week, you know that. But what about Kyle Rittenhouse himself? What is he like? Apart from his testimony in court, few Americans have ever heard his voice. Over the next hour, we're going to let Kyle Rittenhouse speak for himself. You can make up your own mind what you think. But before we start, one observation, which you can't resist making. It's hard to ignore the yawning class divide between Kyle Rittenhouse and his many critics in the media. Rittenhouse comes from the least privileged sector of our society. During high school, he worked as a janitor and a fry cook to help support his family. Last year, he got into college at Arizona State, and he's very proud of it. In the world Kyle Rittenhouse grew up in, it is not a given that kids go to college. It's not even close. During the course of our long conversation, Kyle Rittenhouse struck us as bright, decent, sincere, dutiful, and hardworking. Exactly the kind of person you'd want many more of in your country. He's not especially political. He never wanted to be the symbol of anything. Kyle Rittenhouse just wanted to keep violent lunatics from setting fire to cars. in the America he grew up in, that was considered virtuous. So if Rittenhouse seems a little bewildered at points during our interview, thinking back over the last year and what happened to him, that's probably why. A lot of the things he assumed were true about this country turned out not to be true at all. So in that way, he speaks for many of us. Here's Kyle Rittenhouse. So tell me, Kyle, how you wound up in Kenosha that day.
Well, it actually started on August 24th. I was working my job as a lifeguard at the Recplex in Kenosha County, and then the riots were still going on and a curfew was implied. So I went to Dominic Black's house and I stayed the night over there and saw the videos of the riots and the arson going on.
What'd you think of it?
It was upsetting because Kenosha is my community. And I just was upset seeing my community up in flames.
Yeah, I bet you were. So you're at your friend's house that night. You've come back from working as a lifeguard.
Yes.
And then you decide to go in. First, you're cleaning up graffiti, correct?
Yes. So we say the night I say the night August 24th. We wake up in the morning and we're talking. We're like, let's go help our community. Let's go see what we can do. And we ended up at Rittenhouse Central High School where we were cleaning graffiti for a couple hours. And then we met with the owners of Car Source and we offered to protect their business from fires, making sure the rest of their other two properties didn't get burned down like they did the night prior. And they agreed. We came back. We went back to Dominic's house and hung out there for a little bit. And then we went to Car Source to help protect the property and make sure it didn't set on fire again.
So you get there. What do you see?
When I get there, I see in the beginning, the morning of Rittenhouse Central, I see just spray paint everywhere. I see smoke coming from the Car Source that was burnt down, and it was quite upsetting because that was somebody's business that got destroyed.
Yeah. So you said to the people who own the car lot, I want to protect your cars, and they said, yes, please.
I said, hey, if you, I asked if they needed any help, and they said, yes, if you can.
Where were the police?
I'm not sure really, because they have a hard job.
For sure.
But I didn't really think they got the support they needed. The National Guard should have been called August 23rd, but the city of Kenosha failed the community. The governor, Tony Evers, failed the community, and there should have been a lot more resources to help with that.
That's for sure. So you've been criticized for carrying a firearm into the scene, but it's obvious from the tape that a lot of people, you were not the only one with a firearm. There are rioters with firearms. Was that obvious to you?
Yes.
So you saw other people with guns?
I did. There was a lot of people on both, like there were rioters with firearms. I remember one very distinctly. Joshua Zeminski was walking around with a pistol in his hand all that night with Joseph Rosenbaum.
Where did you first see Rosenbaum?
The first time I saw Rosenbaum was the first time he threatened to kill me. It was at the corner of the Car Source lot that I was at primarily that night. And I was asking people if they needed medical, and he came up to me and Ryan Balch and he said, if I catch any of you MFers alone, I'm going to effing kill you.
Had you ever seen him before?
I have not.
So you'd never seen this guy. He walks up and threatens to kill you out of nowhere.
Yes. It was quite shocking. I was like, why would somebody threaten to kill me? I'm just asking if people need help on both sides. I was there just to help anybody that needed. And shockingly, the only people I helped that night were rioters.
What kind of sense did you get from Rosenbaum? I mean, that sounds deranged.
When he threatened to kill me, I was like, what the heck just happened? I've never nobody's ever threatened to kill me up until that point. And I was like, that's not something you say to somebody.
How long after that was it that he tried to grab your rifle?
It was about an hour and a half later. And then there was actually a second time he said to the group, he said, this is the second time he threatened to kill everybody. He said, I'm gonna effing kill you. I'm going to cut your hearts out, you effing N-words.
Cut your hearts out?
Yes.
Did any of the rioters try and calm him down or stop him?
What I noticed is the rioters were trying to, like, they were, like, disassociating with him because he was, like, spewing the N-word around, and they just didn't seem to want to have anything to deal with him, the rioters.
Yeah. So he comes, he tries to grab your rifle, he gets shot. You decide at that point, unless I'm misremembering, you want to go turn yourself into the police.
Yes. After I shoot Mr. Rosenbaum, he tried to grab my gun. I was running away. There was a gunshot behind me. After I shoot him, I run around the car because I was going to go render first aid to him. I wasn't able to because then there was a mob forming and calling for my execution to get him and kill him. And that's when I try to run to the police line and get to the police. And then I am attacked again.
By the guy who kicked you?
By Jump Kick Man, yes.
Whose identity we didn't know. It turns out the prosecution knew it and hid it.
So we found out November 7th, the prosecution, we went into the judge's chambers and the prosecution said, we identified Jump Kick Man, and the prosecution threw a fit a little bit. They didn't want us to interview him. They were like, well, he's a victim, and didn't want my investigators or my attorneys to interview him or ask him questions. They just wanted to do it private, non-recorded, and the judge said, no, it's going to be recorded. And then a couple hours later, they say, oh, he asked for immunity and we're not going to give it to him, so we're not going to be calling him as a witness.
Yeah, well, probably didn't want to talk about his criminal record.
Yeah.
So you're running, trying to get to the police lines. You see the mob coming after you. Let's execute him, they're saying. And then out of nowhere, you get dropped to the ground by the guy who kicks you in the head. Mm-hmm. Did you see him coming?
I did. To backtrack a little bit, actually, as I'm running, Gage Grosskreutz came up to me with his phone and put it in my face. And he said, what are you doing? Did you just shoot that man? And I told him I'm going to the police. And he said, oh, okay, and ran off. And I kept running to get to the police. And that's when Anthony Huber strikes me with the skateboard as I'm running before I'm on the ground for the first time. And then I'm hit with a rock by somebody in a white tank top. And that's how I end up on the ground. And I have 4 people around me from what I remember. And I move my firearm in their direction and they back off with their hands up so I don't shoot them. And then Jump Kick Man keeps coming. And that's when I fire 2 shots at Jump Kick Man.
Wow. And you miss him and he kicks you?
Yes.
Then what happens?
After Jump Kick Man is running off, Anthony Huber comes up and he grabs the barrel of my gun and then he hits me with his skateboard holding his trucks. And that's when I shoot him 1 time.
Where did he hit you with the skateboard?
He hit me in the back of the head, in the neck, the back of the head towards the neckline.
Did you think you were going to be killed at that point?
I did.
Then what happens?
And then after Mr. Huber attacks me, Mr. Grosskreutz puts his hands up, and then I have my rifle pointed in his direction for about a second. And then once I lower my rifle, I noticed that my ejection port is opened about an inch, and Mr. Grosskreutz said I pulled the charging handle, which never happened. I hit the forward assist to close the ejection port, and he sees me doing that or something. And this time he runs at me and he has his gun pointed directly at my head.
Did you see the gun?
I did.
What, do you think he was going to shoot you?
I did. He had it pointed directly at my head, and that's when I shoot him 1 time. And he is no longer a threat to me at that point because he ran off after I fired that shot.
Did you realize you hit him?
I didn't know until later.
So then what happens?
There is a person directly in front of me, and I point my rifle in their direction, and he puts his hands up, and he's backing up. And I then turn around, start going to the police, and then I hear shots behind me, and I turn around and briefly raise my rifle to see if I'm being shot at. And then I realize I can't see who's shooting at me. So then I turn around and go back to the police car, towards the police line.
It's just, hearing this, it's just hard to believe this is happening in an American city.
Yeah.
So then you finally get up, you hear shots, you turn to see who's shooting at you, and then you finally make it to the police line.
Yes. Once I make it to the police cruiser, the police officer says, "Get back, get back, get back." One of them has a gun out and the other has pepper spray pointed at me. And I say, "Hey, I just had to shoot somebody. I just had to shoot somebody." And then they say, "Go home." And I didn't know this until...
Go home?
Yeah. The officer said to go home. I don't think he knew what happened or heard me. There's a lot of chaos going on.
Yes.
But apparently he pepper sprayed me. You can see it in the video, but I don't remember being pepper sprayed by him.
Wow.
So then what happened?
I say, okay, I go back to the car source lot number 2. We've been referring to them. Car source 1 is the one that got burnt down. Car source 2 is the one that I was at primarily the entire night. And car source 3 is the one where I was attacked by Mr. Rosenbaum. I go back to car source lot number 2 and I tell everybody there what happened. I said I had to do it. I was just attacked. I was dizzy. I was vomiting. I couldn't breathe. And I was like, I wanted to turn myself in Kenosha. I wanted to turn myself into the police in Kenosha, but I wasn't able to because they weren't accepting visitors apparently with the barricades and the fence up. So we ended up turning myself into the Antioch Police Department.
So you drove back across state lines, as we're now calling it. Funny. You couldn't even turn yourself in.
No, it was like I had to go to Antioch Police Department, which, to my understanding, is the closest police department to Kenosha.
Why do you think people were burning car source? What does that have to do with civil rights?
I don't know. I think it was opportunists taking advantage of the BLM movement. I agree with the BLM movement. I agree everybody has the right to protest and assemble, but I do not agree that people have the right to burn down. I don't appreciate that people are burning down American cities to try to spread their message. I think there's other ways to go around and do that.
Absolutely.
Well, I agree with that completely. So you turn yourself into Antioch Police. What do you think is going to happen at that point to you?
I didn't know. I was in shock. My head was spinning from being hit in the head multiple times. I had some minor injuries. I just didn't know. I didn't know I was going to be arrested for defending myself because everything was on video. But part of the reason I think I was arrested is because of the mob mentality. And they were like, yeah, we're just going to arrest him, even though there was videos already out showing me being attacked and having to defend myself.
So when was it that you were arrested?
I was arrested on August 25th at around 6 a.m. I was formally arrested without a criminal complaint being drafted. They didn't know what they were charging me with yet. They just arrested me.
At home?
At Antioch Police Department.
What'd your parents say when you called them and told them what had happened?
I didn't call my mom after I saw her, and she was in shock. She was like, she wanted to go into hiding, and I said, no, the right thing to do would be to turn myself in. I didn't do anything wrong.
So you knew that from the very beginning?
I knew that. A lot of people are like, oh, Kyle had time to meet with his attorneys to come up with this amazing defense of self-defense. No, that's not the case. This has been 100% self-defense from the beginning. And I didn't know there was 100 cameras. But I did know I was attacked and I defended myself.
What do you think would have happened to you if there hadn't been the amount of video that there is?
I can't even imagine. I don't think we'd be sitting here right now having this talk, Tucker.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
You'd never get out. Rittenhouse knows perfectly well the only reason he's free is because he can prove what actually happened thanks to those videos, but it didn't prevent him from going to jail anyway. He did for a longer period than most people understand. During that time, he picked up a couple of attorneys who said they would help him. In his view, they badly abused him and his family and their trust. I'll tell you a lot about that in just a minute, and about the prosecutors. Also, a programming note, we had cameras behind the scenes throughout much of this case. Our Tucker Carlson Originals documentary called The Trial of Kyle premieres in December.
Oh. Thought we were going to get that information tonight.
Hey, it's Tucker Carlson. We spent the last couple of months working on a project that we are finally ready to roll out. We're going to get to the bottom of what really happened on January 6th. There's been an unprecedented level of propaganda about that day. We think we found the truth. We've got a multi-part series on it on Tucker Carlson Originals called Patriot Purge. That's on Fox Nation. The other Fox Nation show, Tucker Carlson Today, is going to feature episodes with interviews tying it all together. Here's an exclusive first look. What exactly happened on January 6th? How much of what we were told about that day is a lie?
If that was an insurrection, it was the most poorly conducted insurrection ever.
Patriot Purge, streaming now, exclusively on Fox Nation.
Do you have any idea how your mattress affects your body and
Crazy, guys. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Somebody want to call in? I'll put up the StreamYard. Oh, yeah, I saw your comment there. Yeah, AK-47 or the AR-15. Yeah, we'll get that sorted. Bothered me they were playing games like giving a defense a crappy version of the drone. Oh, they were so far over the edge on everything they did in this. I mean, those defense lawyers really, I mean, that was just inexcusable what they did. It was just gross. Yeah, they made up evidence. They, like, even when Gage got on there, I mean, he called them out. He said they tried to change his testimony and that he didn't have the gun pointed at his head, that when his arm got shot, that's when the gun started pointing at Kyle. Like, just ridiculous stuff. And then trying to bring in, it looked like they were trying to get a mistrial. If they would have taken some time and looked at the evidence, I don't think they should have ever even brought charges. I mean, the cop that actually shot the black guy in the van or whatever, I mean, that guy got dismissed on all charges there. I don't know. It's just crazy what they did in this. Yeah, I don't think he should have ever been charged. A newspaper in the UK reported on the day he was found not guilty that he shot 3 black people. See, that's just gross. The mainstream media needs to start being held accountable for the stuff they do. Like, I know that there was one guy that reached out to Kyle, and he actually had a judgment against CNN for all the horrific things that they said about him. So I hope Kyle makes CNN, MSNBC, those guys just pay through the nose so they don't continue this one-sided.
Doesn't seem eager to talk about it, but he spent months in jail after turning himself into police, much of it in an adult lockup, despite the fact he was a minor. It was during that time that his family desperately, his mother mostly desperately, looked for legal counsel, for representation, someone helped him get out of jail. In the end, the family was represented by a pair of lawyers called Lynn Wood and John Pierce. This came up out of nowhere. We were not expecting to have this conversation at all. We were taken by surprise a little bit, but it's really interesting. Here's Kyle Rittenhouse's description of what his lawyers did to him.
Oh, wow.
You get arrested. What happens then?
Once I'm arrested, I go to Depke Juvenile Facility, and I gotta say thank you to them for their professionalism. And
the jailers,
the guards at Depke, they were the utmost professional people I've ever met.
Really?
Exactly. They were some of the most professional people I've ever met. It was amazing. Like, they treated me with respect, and They didn't like talk down to you like you've seen like in some videos. They just treated me like I was a human.
How long were you there?
I was in jail for 87 days, and
wow.
This follows in with Lynn Wood, was raising money on my behalf, and he held me in jail for 87 days, disrespected my wishes, put me on media interviews, which I should never have done, which he said, oh, you're going to go talk to the Washington Post, which was not a good idea, along with John Pierce.
Definitely
they
not.
said I was safer in jail instead of at home with my family. And then after I'm bailed
Your
out,
lawyer said that?
My lawyer said that, John Pierce and Lynn Wood.
Wow.
87 days is a long time to be in jail.
It was very long. I lost a lot of weight in there. I since then gained it back.
I know the feeling.
Yeah. But 87 days of not being with my family, for defending myself and being taken advantage to, being used for a cause by John Pierce and Lynn Wood, trying to trying to raise money so they can take it for their own benefit, not trying to set me free.
So you think they could have raised the money for bail faster, but they didn't?
I believe sometime in September 5th, I want to say, they had over $1 million, and bail was set and able to be posted in September. So they could have had me sign the waiver for extradition and had me back in Wisconsin, and I could have been bailed out by mid-September. But they wanted to keep me in jail until November 20th.
Oh, some dirty lawyers, man. Wow.
It was scary in jail. Like, you had to watch over yourself, and not a lot of people liked me in jail until the funny thing is, a lot of people didn't like me in jail, but they got to hear like my story, and they got to understand me. Like, he's actually a really decent person. I'm not this person that the media painted him out to be. And it was scary, but I was able to make friends, I'd say, acquaintance in jail, and like play spades, card games with them.
Amazing. So you're in jail for 87 days. Do you have a sense of how your case is being talked about in the outside world?
Not really when I'm in jail, but once I am bailed out, John Pierce said I was in an unorganized militia, which is just blatantly false. I didn't know what a militia was. And
wait, your lawyer said you were in a militia?
John Pierce said that, and it's blatantly false. I didn't know what a militia was until after the fact, until November like 25th, after I was watching some of the interviews he did. I was like, I'm not in a militia. I don't know what that is.
Sorry to laugh.
And I was like, what the heck? And I'm like, no wonder people are saying I'm in a militia. It's because he painted that narrative, which he should never have gone there.
Well, yeah, it's untrue.
Exactly.
Were you surprised to, so I haven't heard you mention race at all in this conversation. You said you saw your community on fire, you wanted to help. You asked a business owner if you could help. Were you surprised to see this framed as a racial story?
To be honest, Tucker, this case has nothing to do with race. It never had anything to do with race. It had to do with the right to self-defense.
What a sweet kid. I think that comes through loud and clear, playing hearts in jail. But he seems confused by the descriptions of this case as pertaining somehow to race. What he didn't know when he was locked away for 87 days is that the media, spurred on by Democratic politicians like Joe Biden, immediately branded him a white supremacist. Again, the President of the United States did that, so did several members of Congress. Now, during the trial, one of the prosecutors, Thomas Binger, particularly loathsome character, the government lawyer, mocked Kyle Rittenhouse for putting out fires in Kenosha. It's dishonorable to put out fires, apparently, when BLM sets them. So we asked Kyle Rittenhouse about that. Here's what he said.
I'm not a racist person. I support the BLM movement. I support peacefully demonstrating. And I believe there needs to be change. I believe there's a lot of prosecutorial misconduct, not just in my case, but in other cases. And it's just amazing to see how much a prosecutor can take advantage of somebody. Like, if they did this to me, imagine what they could have done to a person of color who doesn't maybe have the resources I do, or is not widely publicized like my case.
What did you make of the President of the United States calling you a white supremacist?
Mr. President, if I could say one thing to you, I would urge you to go back and watch the trial and understand the facts before you make a statement.
That's not a small thing to be called that.
No, it's actual malice, defaming my character for him to say something like that.
What, I mean, why do you think, and it's not simply Biden who said that, it's a lot of people on television have said that, dozens of people have said that. I'm sorry to tell you in case you haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's actually quite hysterical how nobody can go back and look at the facts of the case. He crossed state lines, false. He's a white supremacist, false. None of that is true. And the lies that they can just get away with spreading is just sickening, and it's a disgrace to this country.
I couldn't agree more. So before this, I mean, you're 17 years old, so you're probably not, watching cable news all day or, deeply into politics, or maybe you were, but did you know how dishonest media coverage of events could be?
I didn't. I've never seen something so polarizing in my life when it's obvious self-defense. If you look at the case, you look at the facts, no matter what your opinion is or where you stand. This wasn't a political case. It shouldn't have been a political case. It was made a political case. This had nothing to do with race. And the ways people are twisting this is just sickening.
I think a lot of people watching have reached the same conclusion, and they would like to see you, help make this better by holding some of these liars to account. Do you plan to do that?
I have really good lawyers who are taking care of that right now. So I'm hoping one day there will be accountability for their actions that they did.
Okay, so you're intent on you're not going to let that go.
Like I said, really good lawyers are handling that.
Yeah. So during the trial, was there ever a point where you thought, despite the fact you had all this video evidence on your side bolstering your story, did you ever think, I might go to jail for the rest of my life?
That was a thought I had every single day until I got the not guilty verdict.
Really?
It was because are you aware who Joellen Demetrius is?
Yes.
So Joellen selected my jury, which she did an amazing job, but you still have that feeling in your stomach and knots to where, like, what if somebody snuck their way onto my jury to convict me? So that was something that always went through my head, but I know where I stand. And I know I defended myself.
Were you surprised by the verdict?
I wasn't. I thought they came to the correct verdict because it wasn't Kyle Rittenhouse on trial in Wisconsin. It was the right to self-defense on trial. Right. And if I was convicted, no one would ever be privileged to defend their life against attackers. And thank God they came to the correct verdict of a not guilty.
So the media lies about the police shooting of Jacob Blake. A riot ensues. Young people from throughout the area rush to the riot to set things on fire. Kyle Rittenhouse shows up to prevent things from being burned to the ground, to stop arson. Guess whose side our leaders take? They call him a white supremacist. They slander him. Watching him speak, you realize just how disgusting what they did to him is. Just ahead, he describes the months that he spent in jail and the conditions there, which will shock you, and how it affected his health. That's next.
I recommend Nature Made vitamins.
Well, I see, Dawn, your opinion has not changed. Call in quick. We got 2 minutes. One of us would see who it was. I mean, it's pretty silly, but that's what happens when you're in a good community, I guess. I don't know. But what do you do if there's not enough police in your community, like say at your school? I don't know. I think going down there, like maybe not necessarily with a AR-15, but if you could do anything to protect them, like look at those people in Waukesha. They all got together as soon as you know, that guy drove through them. Brooks drove through them all. I mean, they got all those people to the hospital within record time, and they all pulled together as a community. I love that. I think that's amazing, and that shouldn't be a rarity. That should be what happens all the time. Those guys, that 80 guys that stormed that store, not Holt Renfrew or whatever, but that store, where were all the people around them to, like, they should have been able to grab every one of those guys, but they only ended up getting 3, and those 3 guys are never going to turn in their 76 other friends. So the world is crazy right now. Nordstrom, thank you. Trying to remember that. I don't shop at Nordstrom. I actually like thrift shopping. If Kyle was not surprised when the verdict was announced, that at least verifies the rehearsed fake breakdown the next moment. Well, I think being in that situation, you never know, right? It's just like a boxing match. If it goes to the judges, you never know. Like, how many times have we seen a fight where you think one person is dominated and then the other guy wins? I mean, it's the same thing. You know you're innocent, but you never know. One juror could just basically put you in jail for the rest of your life. Yeah, I don't think using guns is so bad, especially if you're trained with them. You know, even as a youngster when I grew up, I mean, I shot gophers all the time just to protect our horses, because you don't want to lose a horse because steps in a gopher hole and you have to put it down. So, I mean, I shot probably thousands of gophers. I even used to use a fishing rod when I would take my younger brothers. I wasn't allowed to use the gun then, but I'd put up a little snare and snare all these little damn gophers.
Millions of dollars supposedly for Kyle Rittenhouse, and yet Kyle Rittenhouse, a child, spent months in jail. And it was awful, though he's not much of a complainer, you'll notice. But here's what he told us about that experience. So you're in the juvenile facility, you're 17, but then you turn 18, you go to Kenosha County Jail.
Actually, I go to Kenosha County Jail as I'm 17. I'm in adult jail. At October 31st, I'm extradited, which I agree with. I wanted to go to Kenosha County Jail from the beginning. I was extradited to Kenosha County Jail. My attorney, John Pierce, said, "Oh, we're going to keep you in juvenile facility." I always want to be extradited, and I had no problem with that. But he forgot to file the stain. He didn't even know I was going. So my attorney didn't know I was going to jail, which is quite sickening because he should have known.
Well, yeah, that's the whole point of an attorney.
Yeah, right. Thank God I have competent counsel now.
Yeah.
But the jail was interesting. I was in my own room. It was kind of like a one-star. I'm going to describe it as a one-star hotel. Or one-star hotel. We'll go with.
Don't oversell it, Kyle. Don't oversell it.
I had a desk. I had a shower. I had a toilet. I had a TV.
Holy.
I had a tablet.
Wow.
But I didn't have running water.
Seriously.
I had a phone also, but I did not have running water, so I didn't shower until November 20th.
How long
From
is
October 31st to November 20th, I did not take a shower.
That's disgusting.
I smelled terrible. I felt sick. I lost weight. My health was degrading. If I was in there for a month longer, I would have probably been in a hospital.
Wait, you had no running water?
No running water in my jail cell.
Did they let you out?
To talk with my attorneys. I didn't really say anything about my running water because I don't like to bring attention to myself. I didn't want to draw any problems with any of the guards. So I was like, I'm just gonna shut up and not mention that I don't have running water. But I didn't shower until November 20th. And when I showered, I showered for I took like a 3-hour shower. I had like blood. My skin was bleeding because my skin was coming off of my body. It was just the nastiest thing ever. And I feel bad for Dave, who's been with me through the beginning, who's helped start freekyleusa.org. I feel bad for him because he had to deal with my smell for that 3-hour car ride. So I give him all the credit in the world.
Imagine putting that kid in jail, one of the very few people in downtown Kenosha that night who was there for the right reasons, who was trying to help, who was trying to bring order out of disorder, who was trying to protect rather than destroy. And they put him in jail. And the most infuriating part is the facts haven't changed. Videotape of that night was available almost immediately to anyone who wanted to see it. It was very clear this man had acted, this boy had acted in self-defense. And they locked him up anyway because of political pressure. So what are Kyle Rittenhouse's plans for the future? How do you live in America if you're Kyle Rittenhouse? We asked him that. Let's straight ahead.
He have to change his name.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell.
Mike Lindell. Craziness. Oh, I don't think you would ever. No, and CNN. It's funny. So I only get CNN as part of my television package, which pretty much has everything. But I don't have any Fox News at all. So we had a chat today. One of our members, Mark, was a pretty loyal Democrat. And it's interesting to watch the other side. And if you're loyal to Fox or you're loyal to CNN, just take a few days and watch the other side of wherever you're at, right? So it can't hurt, right? You can just get more information by doing that. And I think that that's a good thing, that if you go and do that. But yeah, so after we get done this show, I'm gonna go through the Brooks Waukesha stuff. We've got his arrest record, 50 pages long. We've got his Twitter account, some of his music. I might not play his music because it'll get pulled on YouTube. Twitch will be fine with it though. There's a few other things in there that we can go through. But I would love for some of you to call in, especially Dawn and please Susan. I think you guys, I mean, I could put all three of us on at the same time. I think that would be kind of interesting. And it's not to create tension. It's more to just let people vocalize their viewpoints and try to understand where everyone's coming from. Just kind of like what I was just saying about watching CNN and watching MSNBC versus Fox or wherever you get your. Hi, Ann. How are you?
I'm okay. Yeah, I just thought I'd weigh in a little bit. This, again, is a brand new case to me.
Mm-hmm.
But just listening to the man, and I think I listened to the body language guy too,
Mm-hmm.
and he said something about how consistent he was talking, and he's believable, and he should not have been charged just on that fact. Maybe he was a little bit upset and hysterical when he came in to
I don't think he was.
Yeah.
I saw the actual raw footage when he first went in before lawyers and everything, like when he sat down with his mom, when he turned himself in.
Wow.
And yeah, so I think he just got a couple of really greedy lawyers that saw, holy crap, we just raised $1 million. We'll just leave that in our account and let this kid rot in jail until we can get
Exactly.
some
And
more stuff.
also,
And that's horrible.
to that point, don't you see how these lawyers also, he's a white kid, so he was exploitable in this situation where they drummed up all this stuff about him shooting black people, which was the other person, somebody else. And
Well, even one of the first lawyers that said he was part of a militia. I mean,
very
if that's
strange.
not being
And reverse racist, and I think that it really does have a lot to do with anarchy. I think that there are anarchists in America, and I think that's what's breaking down the sense of small town, look after your neighbor and community sense of.
I think it's mainstream media. Like you've
And
got
media, yes.
so much media now, and it's polarizing everybody. It's a bad thing.
It is, and you just looking at the presidential situation, and Kamala Harris is from California. She was horrible in California, so it's the left too. It's the far-reaching left that we're battling because they're more
we're
they're
gonna
really
have
different.
to cut you off.
About 45
We're
minutes.
back.
Talk to you later.
Okay, thanks for
Rittenhouse,
calling
and
in.
the picture that emerges is of a working class kid who sincerely believes in America. His community falls apart, and he tries his best to do the right thing at a time when almost nobody else in the community is trying to do the right thing, but he does. And in return for that, the state, under political pressure, throws him in prison. Then the people who swear they will help him take advantage of him. It's a lot. So what does he plan to do now that he's been acquitted? Well, here's that part of the interview. What do you think your life's going to be like after this?
I'm hoping I can live a quiet, stress-free life, and be free of any intimidation or harassment, and just go on with my life as a normal 18-year-old kid attending college.
So you're going to go to college?
I am in college. I'm a student at Arizona State University.
What I mean, are you going to go to campus? And
I think I am. I want to. It's a lot of things we have to look into, so I don't know for sure yet. But I do intend on going in campus and pursuing a career in nursing. I may change it. I've been looking into law. I may want to become a lawyer. I haven't completely decided yet. But I've been looking, I want to be a nurse, so I've been doing the prerequisites for that.
Interesting.
Oh,
do you think you can have
you
that?
should be a
you
lawyer.
Can live
Wouldn't that be
peacefully
awesome?
in this country, unmolested?
I hope so, but I can't read the future. I'm hoping that people go back and understand the facts and be like, watch the trial, watch the prosecutorial misconduct that I believe happened, and realize that I was an innocent 17-year-old who was violently attacked and defended myself.
Because you wanted to clean graffiti and protect a car lot.
And apparently, a lot of people on the left, it's criminal to want to protect your community.
Do you feel like your life's been destroyed by this?
I feel my life has been extremely defamed by it. I don't think I would be able to go out and get a job and not have to deal with harassment. But I'm at a place now to where I have to have people with me because people want to kill me just because I defended myself, and they're too ignorant to look at the facts of what happened.
Do you feel the threats?
I do. I see some of the threats, some of the things people say. It's absolutely sickening.
Are you confident that the government will protect you from these threats? Because that's, of course, the government's job.
I hope so, but we all know how the FBI works.
Yeah. I mean, looking back, it's been, a year and a half, less than even. This is not the life that you planned, obviously.
No, it is far from the life I planned. This is something that I wish never would have happened, but it did, and we can't change that. But how it's been how polarized it became is absolutely sickening.
Yeah.
Like, right or left, people using me for a cause that should never have been used as a cause.
I read that you're not going to stay in the Midwest.
I'm not. I'm going to find somewhere to live. Before this, I actually wanted to move to Naples, Florida, and then this happened. But I don't know where I'm going to go. I'm going to go lay low and live my life and enjoy it.
Arizona.
Why are you so calm?
I'm a naturally calm person. I find it to be a problem when people are overreacting because things are out of our control. So I try not to deal with that.
Huh. I mean, just for the...
Believe me, on the inside, I'm freaking out.
Well, you must be. I mean, for the record, you just got acquitted.
Yeah.
I mean, like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing I noticed, that you seem very calm. You don't seem like someone who's just been through, had his mind blown.
Yeah, on the inside, I'm freaking out, but the best thing you can do, you freak out, everybody else freaks out. It's like a chain reaction.
Yes.
So the best thing I can do is stay calm.
Do you feel like you've been watched over?
I believe God's been on my side from the beginning.
Hard to imagine you could have watched the whole trial and then watch those 48 minutes and come away thinking Kyle Rittenhouse is a monster. Just the opposite, actually. As we said, this is a boy who sincerely believed in the promises of America. Do the right thing, be honest, worked hard to turn himself into the police. Their response, they pepper sprayed him. He had to drive across state lines, speaking of, to turn himself in to the police. It's an amazing story, and it's a deeply sad story for what it says, not about him, but about the rest of us. We've got reactions tonight to the interview we just did from Judge Jeanine Pirro. We've also got behind-the-scenes footage that we shot, our producer shot for our documentary series, Behind the Scenes at the Rittenhouse Trial. That's all next.
There's nobody that gives more than a first responder family or than a military family.
I'm here because I fell in love with a man who was in love with this country. And as devastated as my kids and I are that he's gone, we're proud of him.
Some of these great Americans have this in their blood to serve. Personally, I lost my brother.
From 9/11 was the beginning, is when he stated that I have to fight for my country.
I wanted to be a part of defending that pride that we had after 9/11.
Chris was a firefighter and a Marine.
He wanted to be part of it. Did a tour in Iraq, and then 10 years later did a tour in Afghanistan. And that's where we lost him.
And I remember one of the first questions, in addition to just the emotional grief and shock, was how am I going to pay the bills? Not only do I have 7 kids, but I was a stay-at-home mom. I was in the airport on the way to Dover Air Base, traveling to go get Brent's remains. And my sister called and she said, how much do you owe on your mortgage? Apparently you'd reached out to her and said, you're going to help me take care of that mortgage.
The reason we need to give $11 a month is because it changes people's lives.
Getting a house. My daughter has a place to call her own without worrying about going from apartment to apartment.
They built me a home that does things for me. I have a stove where I can push the button and it lowers, so when I'm in my wheelchair, I can cook still for my family.
It was almost shocking. It was one of those, I don't really know what to do with this.
Being mortgage-free has allowed me to do so many other things that I don't have to worry about paying for my house.
If you've seen the work that we've been doing and you've wanted to help and haven't yet, this is the time to do it, because there's hundreds of families, if not thousands, that we still have to help. So go to T2T.org and donate $11 a month. That $11 a month can change a whole family's life forever.
Just to have a support dog like that.
Investors, you need to protect against market drops and inflation. The best diversification is hard assets with lower risk and higher returns, including steady cash flow.
Oh, that's such a good cause. That's amazing, actually. I couldn't imagine trying to live in a wheelchair or without vision or without hearing. It would be unbelievable. Yeah, no, Mark, you're definitely giving Fox a fair chance. And I love seeing the different sides we have. We have a really brilliant group of people that all come together. It's awesome. That can put all that stuff aside and, dig into all these different cases that we do. It's amazing. Well, I hope they go after the big media. And they don't try to turn this around and put it on the police or the governor or whatever. They weren't prepared, didn't have enough people. Hey, bud, how's it going?
Hey, guys. Short note. So before talking about Kyle, I really don't like the idea in this country. I wasn't born here. You can hear it on my accent. So it's like what's really strange to me that why someone can have a masculine weapon like a semi.
Right.
I completely agree with the fact that someone has a gun to protect his home. I'm not against that, but I have a really right-wing nut colleague who says like the reason we are against this like removing the semi because then it's an avalanche, you know, and then the Democrats are coming and then they will remove all the what's in Second Amendment. This is a 200-year-old law. 200 years ago, nobody had a semi.
Right.
Okay? So I'm not sorry if you want to go back.
Yeah, we'll get you on in a bit. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Originals. We got this content from the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. Inside of it, it will appear later this December in a new documentary we're making for Fox Nation, The Trial of Kyle. Here's a bit of it.
It's the stuff that keeps you up at night. Like, once you finally do get to sleep, your dreams are about what happened, and you're waking up in a dark, cold sweat.
Yeah. You had dreams about what happened?
Every single night. It's quite scary, actually, because the dreams feel so real, and they're not the same at all. They're all different. They're the different scenarios that run through your head during the day, like what could have happened. Like, I'm alive, but what could have happened? Like, what if I wasn't alive, or what if I did let Mr. Rosenbaum steal my gun? It's those type of dreams. The outcome of it's bad, but almost every outcome is either me getting seriously injured or hurt or dead. Those are just the dreams I have on a daily basis.
The defendant will rise, face the jury, and hearken to its verdicts.
State of Wisconsin versus Kyle Rittenhouse. As to the first count of the information, Joseph Rosenbaum. We, the jury, find the defendant, Kyle H. Rittenhouse, not guilty. As to the second count of the information, Richard McGinnis. We, the jury, find the defendant, Kyle H. Rittenhouse, not guilty.
How do you feel, man? The jury reached the correct verdict. Self-defense is not illegal. And I believe they came to the correct verdict, and I'm glad that everything went well. And it's been a rough journey, but we made it through it. We made it through the hard part.
That documentary, The Trial of Kyle, comes out in a few weeks. You can sign up for free access to watch it on Fox Nation. Just go to tuckercarlson.com. So we had a lot of footage at that trial. As we said, it'll be out in December. So for now, to kind of put a bow on all of this, what we just saw, we want to talk to our friend Judge Jeanine Pirro, the host of Justice with Judge Jeanine. Hey, Judge, what do you think of that?
Well, first of all, it's amazing. It's amazing that you got this interview, Tucker. But I must tell you, I was blown away by the interview. This young man is far more intelligent than people wanted to give him credit for. There are many more dimensions to him than people realize. They saw him as a 17-year-old from a small town with kind of a boyish face, a boyish demeanor. And what they'll hear tonight in this interview, or what we all heard, was a young man who understood the enormity of the ramifications of his trial. It's almost as though he recognized it wasn't even about Kyle Rittenhouse. It was about the right of self-defense. He was smart enough to articulate this. He was smart enough to be able to recognize that what he was going through was really about American law and the Constitution and his right to defend himself. What will shock people is that he was very articulate in his description of supporting the Black Lives Matter movement, and then went to the next step and said, you know, if someone were of color and in the same situation, I would be worried for them. I'm hoping they would have the same resources that I had. This is a young man who was a very empathic young man. All of the things he did in his life were to help people. And the fact that when you said to him, you know, why are you so calm? And he said, I've learned that I can't get upset about things that I can't control. I mean, you have to be like 50 before you figure that out. This kid has a tremendous future in front of him. He is not angry. When you asked him about the president, what he would say, He, he just came back, not like a normal 18-year-old punk. He came back and he said, I would say, Mr. President, if you could go back and look at the facts, you would realize that what you said wasn't accurate. Everything he said, everything he talked about, the fact that he was able to go through all of this, never get angry, never lose his cool. The fact that when you said to him, you said, don't you want to hold people accountable? He said, well, I'm my lawyers, I'm going to leave that up to them. And then you came back at him, Tucker, and you said, but really, don't you want to hold them accountable? And he said, like I said, I'm relying on my lawyers. It was like the withering cross-examination that he withstood in front of a nation aware of the impact and consequences of that cross-examination. Nothing moved him off the truth. This young man is a truth teller. This young man is far more mature than his years. And even a mother, and, I can't imagine as a mother, but his mom wanted him to hide. He said, no, I have to confront it. I have to face it. Just like he did that night when he put his hands up and he tried to turn himself into the police, and the police told him to get out of the way.
Well, they pepper sprayed him.
They pepper sprayed him.
Which tells you just about everything. They were protecting the car lot, by the way.
Yeah, and he didn't have anything negative to say about the police. He's going through hell. He is literally going through hell. The police are not there. His community is being burnt down, and yet he's willing to help and not say anything about anyone else. God bless this boy.
We're out of time. Judge Janine, thank you. Welcome to Hannity, and tonight coming up a major announcement at the end of the show. But first, we begin with this weekend's terrible news. Waukesha, Wisconsin is now reeling only one day after a violent career criminal plowed his SUV into a Christmas.
All right, well, it's up to you guys. We can listen to him or we can just do it ourselves. Totally up to you. What do we have? 28 viewers, it looks like. Do you guys want to call in and let me know your thoughts, what you want to do? Or I just thought it was important to watch that Kyle live. Listen in.
Other of his children, and get this, attempting to run her over with his car. Defund, dismantle the police, no bail, low bail. How is all of this working out for the country? That's right. He tried to run over his ex-girlfriend, got out of jail after posting a mere $1,000. Now, this despite a lengthy rap sheet filled with violent crimes going back decades. Look at your screen. 1999, aggravated battery and gun charges. 2000, more gun charges and resisting arrest. 2002, 2003, 2005, more resisting arrest charges and drug charges. 2010, strangulation, domestic abuse. 2010 through 2020, several more resisting arrest charges, drug charges, more gun charges, another domestic abuse charge, several paternity warrants. And that's all in the one state of Wisconsin. Nevada, Brooks is a registered sex offender where he was convicted of statutory rape after getting a 15-year-old girl pregnant. He's currently wanted in the state for bail violations. So make no mistake, Darrell Brooks was a menace and has been for a long time to society. But according to Judge Michelle Havas, well, a $1,000 bond, that's all that was needed for him to get out yet again after decades of a criminal life. She failed to protect her community, and now 5 innocent people are dead, many others injured. Keep in mind, Wisconsin is one of many states where far-left activists and politicians have been flirting with these so-called bail reform laws, like no bail in New York City. Certain offenders are released from jail without a penny in bail. The results have been nothing but catastrophic. Violent crime, nonviolent crime is surging. Over the summer, one man was arrested for robbing 4 banks and was released after posting no bail each time. Then he goes to rob another bank and then 2 more banks. And last week, an ex-con who once tried to murder an NYPD officer was arrested again for attacking another NYPD officer, only to be quickly released from jail after posting, you got it,
$0 for bail. Yesterday, a man was shot by a stray bullet in Yankee Stadium. The shot was fired from somewhere outside the stadium, and on Sunday, a 32-year-old was stabbed to death on a subway train near Penn Station in New York. Now, police are calling it an unprovoked attack. They're still searching for the suspect, pictured right there. And meanwhile, in San Francisco, well, theft and shoplifting have essentially been decriminalized, and local businesses are now being destroyed one after another because of looting on a mass scale. Now, many retail locations in San Francisco, they are closing early. Some are closing locations altogether. In Illinois, where cash bail was recently abolished, we have more looting there. This is the inside of a high-end clothing store where a group of criminals, they just walked in, they helped themselves, took just about everything that they wanted. In Philadelphia, a pregnant woman was murdered on the way back from her baby shower. Also in Philly, an Uber driver, he fought back against two armed robbers. He killed one. This is serious. Lives and livelihoods are ruined when law and order breaks down. This is now your new modern, new Green Deal Democratic Socialist Party. This is why we have laws, and this is why we need police to uphold these laws. Law and order, safety and security. Lawlessness never begins and ends with shoplifting or petty theft. It only gets worse and worse and worse until someone will enforce the law. Many on the left are ready and willing to jeopardize you and your family's safety and security so they can tell everyone how wonderful they are for freeing people from prison and defunding and dismantling police and getting rid of bail. That, by the way, would include Kamala Harris, who supported that bail fund, you might remember, for the violent rioters in 2020. That would be Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who wrote a letter threatening federal action if anyone is held on bail that she deems excessive. That means Congresswoman Tlaib, who recently signed on to a plan to release everyone in the U.S. from prison. And I mean everyone. Take a look.
I think that everyone's like, oh my God, we're going to just release everybody. That's not what I'm saying. Yeah, but did you see how many people are mentally ill that are in prison right now?
No, I know, but the act that you endorsed actually says release everyone.
But in 10 years, but think about it. Who will release?
But there are like human traffickers.
Oh, I know.
Child sex. So, but you're saying, do you mean that you don't actually support that?
No.
In your vision, there is still whatever proportion they are, a small proportion who do need to be behind bars.
Yeah, again, I would have to look at every case individually and figure that all out. I can't just say that.
How about we release them and maybe they can live with Congresswoman Tlaib? Apparently hasn't given the plan much thought. Of course, anyone that supports zero bail, abolishing, dismantling, defunding the police isn't really thinking about the consequences now, are they? They're not thinking about the law-abiding American citizens, businesses who will be impacted by their insanity. As always, they only care about their own twisted political narrative. And come next November, we, the American people, need to send a message to them at the ballot box. And it's simple. If you don't have law and order and you don't keep every American safe and secure, you cannot pursue happiness. It's that basic and that fundamental. We'll have more on this in a moment. First, our own Matt Finn. He's on the ground in Waukesha, Wisconsin, with the very latest details from yesterday's horrific massacre. Matt.
Sean, this is the parade route right behind me. Right now, it's calm and quiet. But yesterday, this place was packed with people who came down here to celebrate a Christmas parade. And imagine some of those people ended up watching their loved ones being hit and killed right in front of them. Police now say 5 people are dead. They age and range from 51 to 82 years old, including 79-year-old Virginia Sorensen. In all, 18 children ages 3 to 16 were taken to the hospital. 6 are still in critical condition. Just days before Thanksgiving, tonight, these children are clinging to life. Police say they'll file 5 first-degree murder charges against 39-year-old Darrell E. Brooks Jr., the alleged driver. He has an extensive criminal history. Court documents reveal Brooks just posted $1,000 bail on charges that he intentionally ran over the mother of his child with his vehicle. He also has an active warrant in the state of Nevada for failing to obey sex offender laws. A short while ago, there was a prayer vigil here in downtown. We'll keep you updated on the status of the victim, Sean.
All right, Matt Finn, thank you. Joining us now is former Trump White House Chief of Staff, Reince Priebus, Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett. At what point, Reince, do we start holding the judges responsible? For example, I look at Joe Biden. He picks and chooses which laws he wants enforced. He aids and abets law breaking at the border. We have sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. They're not following the law of the land either. At what point do we hold the people accountable that are aiding and abetting the law breaking, or those that support these no bail, dismantle and defund the police efforts? At what point do we hold them accountable?
Well, it's what's boiling over, I think, in this country, Sean. You know, I'm a Wisconsin guy. Talked to a lot of my friends, that some of which were at the parade route. I had a good friend that I talked to this afternoon that really barely escaped this this maniac that came down, as we all know now, the center of this beautiful place. It's like the Norman Rockwell parade in Wisconsin, almost 60 years in the making. There's a long stretch that this parade route takes. And as we all know, what this guy did was out of control. I mean, your monologue laid it out. We have an America right now that has had it with this woke mob that is telling us what to think, what not to think. You know, sitting here, we have to wear race goggles for everything that we see in this country. And now we've got judges that are letting these guys out for almost no money. One thing that you did miss, the only thing that you may have missed in the monologue, is that this guy not only posted $1,000 bail after he ran over his girlfriend, he shot at his nephew, but a few months before that, he posted $500 in bail just a few months ago before that for obstructing a police officer, for battery, and all kinds of other things. Look, the American people in this last election, even in places like Seattle, elected an progressive law and order person that said, I'm not for this defunding the police. Eric Adams in New York, the Minneapolis police defund effort flipped upside down. And this is because the Democrats in this country, like everything else that they're doing now, have gone way too far. They went too far on the border. They've gone too far on this vaccine. They've gone too far on race. And now look at, they're going too far on crime. We've had the highest murder rate increase in this country since 1905, and the American people have had it. And we got a president of the White House who in 2020, the headline was Biden in the New York Times that Biden is walking a fine line in his defunding the police rhetoric. 62% of the American people believe the Democrat Party is out of touch and doesn't represent them. They pretend to be the party of the people. Most people in this country, over 60%, don't know what planet they're living on. People have had it, Sean.
And this is why I keep saying you have this January 6th committee. Okay, they're going to look into that. I've been outspoken about it. Greg Jarrett, you know that. Where's Liz Cheney investigating and creating a committee to look into the 535 riots that Democrats and the mob and the media refer to as peaceful protests?
Okay. I'm going to go through the other stuff. I think we've seen enough of this. I mean, they covered a lot of stuff very quickly, and they're very, very, very well organized. Sorry, should have make sure my mic was on. But yeah, guys, go ahead and if you want to call in. I know you guys are getting pretty heated in chat, so there you go. Yeah, this guy is something else. I'm just going to play this. It's 33 seconds long.
And then as soon as we fall out, all of a sudden now I'm a pedophile. Let me explain that. 10 years ago, 2006, I caught a case with my oldest daughter's mama. Yes, my baby mama. She's from Oakland. I was busting moves in Nevada. I meet the bitch. She says she want to get down, so I'm pimping on the bitch. I take her to Nevada. You know what I'm saying? I get cracked. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know the bitch was 16.
So she was 16 years old, and he was her pimp. And he admitted to it right there. The next thing I want to go through is just quickly. This is their. This is his criminal record right here. Starts back here in February 21st, 1999. And yeah, it just keeps going, guys. Like, it's 50 pages of this. Concealed weapon, like obstructing justice officer, felony, take and drive vehicle without consent, habitual criminality. Like, how does this just keep going? Like, how many strikes does one person get? It's just unbelievable. 2010. We're only halfway through. We get down to the bottom, and that's 50 pages. 50 pages. 49 technically, but still. Unbelievable. This is some of his music. This is his name, Math Boy Fly. These were the dancing grannies. This is their Facebook. And yeah, here's the I don't know why it didn't show, but probably a good thing. So yeah, wonderful world. He wants a communist revolution and to kill whites. Yeah, he was said a lot of horrible things. Supported a lot of this stuff here. This was way back in, I think, 2000 or something. When was this? So yeah, just a lot more of that stuff. No callers? Okay. All right. Well, I think we're gonna shut her down then. And yeah, we'll just keep looking. If we get any information on any of the Gabby Petito's case or Heidi Plank, any of those, we'll make sure that we go live and get that information to you guys as quick as possible. But Gavis, does Canada put up with people like this? Doesn't get to this point. Yeah, we don't have a zero bail policy. We don't have unlimited ability to carry guns. So yeah, it's just different. Yeah, and Kylan and Crystal, for sure. Yeah, I'm always keeping track of that. There's a couple of things that came up. There was a dude that worked at McDonald's with Crystal, and I guess he left shortly after they were killed, and he never came back to pick up his check. So got to look into that guy a little bit more. But again, his last check might not have been very much, all that kind of stuff. So who knows? All right. Well, that was good night. And yeah, I just wanted to really cover that Kyle case. Sounds like you're going to continue to do some more behind the scenes videos with him. And yeah, we'll keep you posted. Okay, thanks, guys.